Good morning, class. In this video, I'm going to be reading you the myth of Kronos and Zeus. After the defeat of Uranus, Kronos became ruler of the world. His family had expected his first action to be the release of his imprisoned brothers, the Cyclops and the 100-handed giants. Kronos, however, feared their potential power, just as his father had before him, and decided to leave his uncles shackled in Tartarus. Gaia was appalled by her son's cruelty and unforeseen selfishness, though she was powerless to overrule him. She took joy in issuing a prophecy to her disappointment of his son, informing him that he would someday be overthrown by his own children, just as he had overthrown his own father. So we know that Gaia made a prophecy that Uranus' sons would overthrow him. That will never happen, Kronos vowed, because I can outwit the fates. If I never have children, I can never be overthrown. In time, though, Kronos fell in love with his fair sister Rhea, and from their union she birthed the first of their children, a beautiful daughter named Hestia. Rhea, an earth goddess like her mother, was overjoyed by the arrival of her daughter. Tenderly she wrapped the infant in cloth and brought the bundle of joy to meet her father. As Kronos reached out his arm to hold his child, his mother's prophecy rang in his ears. Could this pink-cheeked baby grow to become the instrument of his demise? He couldn't take that chance. He smiled a wide, wicked grin, and without a word or warning, opened his gigantic mouth and swallowed Hestia in one large gulp. Wow. So yeah, we know he ate his baby. As time passed, Rhea gave birth to 3 more children, the daughter Demeter and Hera and a fine son named Hades. With each birth, Rhea lovingly wrapped the child in a soft cloth before bringing the bundle to Kronos' throne. Each time she prayed that Kronos would share in her joy, but each time the painful action was repeated. Kronos would pretend to welcome the child into the family, yet once he held the young flesh in his brawny arms, the prophecy would obliterate any thoughts of decency. Instead of love, his veins surged with fear, and he'd swallow each infant whole. So none of the babies are making it. By the time Rhea was ready to birth her 5th child, she was frantic with fright. She could no longer stand by and allow another child to be trapped within the bowels of Kronos. Rhea met with Gaia, and who was also furious with Kronos over the treatment of her sons and grandchildren, and the 2 women set a plan. So we know that they're planning. When the 5th child, a healthy son named Poseidon, was born, Gaia took the infant to a remote island, where he was to be raised by sea deities. So we know that Poseidon is raised by sea deities. Back at the palace, Rhea took a fowl and awkwardly wrapped the animal in an infant's blanket. A fowl is a chicken, or a bird, any type of bird. Rhea presented this child to her husband, and he, without questioning the appearance of the newborn, smiled, allowing the wicked grin to overtake his face, and he swallowed the fowl whole. As usual, he left her without speaking to his wife, but she rejoiced inwardly, realizing how her plan had deceived her husband. So Rhea successfully tricked him into eating a chicken. For the birth of their 6th child, Rhea conspired again with her mother to fool Kronos and protect the baby. This time an infant boy with radiant glow to his skin, unlike anything anyone had ever seen before. They named him Zeus, the Shining One. So we know that the last one is Zeus. And his grandmother concealed the child, taking him into a deep cave where his cries could not be heard. At the palace, Rhea was frantic, searching to find another object that would fool her husband. Running out of time, she grabbed a large stone, about the size and weight of the infant Zeus. She wrapped it tightly in binding cloth and brought it to her husband's side. As expected, Kronos took the bundle, pretending to hold it lovingly, before abruptly shoving it into his mouth. Rhea shed no tears as her husband left the room. She knew her children would be avenged, even as she had to be patient in waiting for the fateful day. So she believes that her children are going to be avenged, meaning they're going to get revenge. With Gaia's help, Poseidon and Zeus remained hidden and protected. They came of age, and when the time was right, they agreed to help fulfill the prophecy that would unseat Kronos from his throne. First, Zeus and Gaia met with Metis, the daughter of the Titans and Oceanus and Tethys, because she was known to be the, I'm going to go to page 2, wisest of the goddesses. Metis mixed a drugged drink that would force Kronos' stomach to dislodge its contents, and she placed the vial in Zeus' shining hand. So if it causes the stomach to dislodge its contents, he's probably going to throw up. Back in the palace, Rhea slipped the contents of the vial into Kronos' drink. She smiled wryly as he swallowed the liquid and almost immediately doubled over in pain, clutching the fleecy rug on the floor as he vomited up everything in his stomach, including his 4 immortal children, who were now grown and filled with intolerable hatred for their captor. Standing before their father, the 4 immortals were joined by Poseidon and Zeus, who demanded that Kronos surrender his power. Slowly standing on shaky legs, Kronos glared at his wife and children. "Never," he screamed as he staggered out of the room. War was declared. Kronos enlisted the support of his Titan brothers and sisters, many of whom fought against the young upstarts. For 10 years the war raged, as both sides were so evenly matched. Finally, Gaia, who had tried to stay out of the war that pitted most of her children against her grandchildren, decided enough was enough. Her oldest sons, the 100-handed giants and the Cyclops, had remained imprisoned in Tartarus all this time. If Zeus and his siblings would agree to free their uncles, Gaia told them they could win the war. Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades were grateful for their grandmother's help and eagerly agreed to make the dangerous journey to their uncles. Down deep into Tartarus they descended, successfully killing the guards and evading any traps. When they finally reached their uncles, the prisoners' eyes filled with tears of gratitude. They thought they'd been forgotten. The Cyclops were so thankful for their release. They not only immediately agreed to help fight in the war, but also gifted the 3 young gods with glorious tools. To Zeus, they gave the gift of thunder and invincible lightning bolts, securing his ability to rule both the mortal and immortal worlds without unbreakable authority. To Poseidon, they gave a magical trident, a 3-speared tool that would allow him to control all the waters of the world. And to Hades, they gave a helmet of invisibility, allowing him to hide his identity whenever he chose to do so. The intimidating power of the 100-handed giants was restored after consuming ambrosia that the gods had brought with them, and all agreed to help their nephews conquer Kronos and his Titan warriors. Once back in the land of the sunlight, the gods and their uncles unleashed a brutal assault on the Titans. Zeus climbed atop Mount Olympus and hurled lightning bolt after lightning bolt upon Kronos and the Titans. The 100-handed giants ripped mountaintops apart and threw thousands of boulders upon their enemies. The assault was unparalleled, and the Titans were not prepared. They were forced to retreat to the land of Tartarus. There, the Cyclops were waiting, and one by one lashed the Titans with unbreakable chains, locking them into the underground prison, Kronos among them. Now that peace had been restored to the earth, the gods made sure the region of Tartarus would be an inescapable prison. Poseidon surrounded it with a tall bronze wall, and Zeus asked for the 100-handed giants if they would be willing to serve as the gods of Tartarus. Since they had spent so much of their lives in the dark land and felt more comfortable there than in the sunlight, they agreed, knowing that they could return to the upper land any time they wanted. So we know that Zeus asked the 100-handed giants to serve as guards of Tartarus. When the gods drew lots to determine their realms, Zeus won the sky, Poseidon took the sea, and Hades was given the underworld. Zeus's rule brought peace and order to the immortal world, and he taught humans to treat each other fairly. People who disrespected the gods or each other were punished by Zeus, often obvious in public ways. Poseidon's powerful trident allowed him to create squalls and even earthquakes, but he also taught mortals how to train horses and build ships. Hades taught humans to have respect for the dead and to conduct proper funeral ceremonies that would allow souls to pass into Elysium, the Greek equivalent of heaven. Eventually Zeus married his sister Hera, the goddess of marriage and childbirth. Hestia became the guardian of the home and taught mortals how to build houses, and Demeter became the goddess of grain, teaching mankind how to plant and reap a harvest. The Titans were silenced, and the rule of the gods hath begun. And that concludes the myth of Kronos and Zeus.